All right, so it has been a little while since I made a video for you guys, but it is Recommend Day, which is kind of a lie. I actually came through and I did all of this about 5-ish days ago or so. The rest of this video is going to show you that process. If you don't know what I'm talking about when I say re-amending, again, that's what we're going to teach you. It's basically just adding the nutrients back in, resetting your round, but we're going to go over what we did, plus why we did it, the products I used, as well as kind of the mindset behind everything. Now, I will jump to the end result here a little bit, just because I always get excited about this stuff. I was peeking in here. And so if you look carefully today, you can see all that little like white looking growth that almost looks like mold. So that is fungal life and fungal activity working to break down all those nutrients we added. So I always get excited seeing this stuff. It's kind of fun. It's one of the cool parts of your living soil setup. So you got to remember it is alive, hence the living part. Anyways, the rest of this video will show you guys what's going on, and I hope you enjoy. All right, so I almost forgot to show you guys. We're gonna go ahead and re-amend our soil today. So what that means is the last round, our harvest, everything we pulled out, plant material, buds, everything like that, all that removes nutrition. So re-amending, all that means is we're adding that back into our soil. So today we're keeping it really simple. I'm gonna go ahead and just use the BioLive. This is kind of a nice veg-based fertilizer. Comes in this little powder. It's crab meal, alfalfa meal, bone meal, all kinds of good stuff like that. All they do is mix it for you. Anyways, so I'm taking some scoops of that. We're gonna add that on top of all of our soil. We're gonna scratch it in. I'm gonna add a little bit of my good compost here, and I'm gonna add a little bit of bokashi just to help it break down. And then we're gonna just water it in. We're gonna let that sit for about a week or two, kind of break down, and then we'll go ahead and plant into it, and we'll get rocking and rolling again. I normally like to soil test, honestly. I don't do it super often. Every few rounds I'll do a soil test just so I can get an idea of what's actually in my soil. This round, I'm not doing that. We're just gonna go ahead and blind re-amend, give it some nutrition back. At the end of this round, after the next harvest, I'll probably go ahead and do a soil test just to see how far off stuff has gotten. But this is a great example of how easy it is to just reset and get going again with the living soil. So I didn't mention application rates or anything like that. As a rough rule of thumb, I like to use a 1/4 cup to 1 cup of my amendment blend per cubic foot. So these big pots are 30 gallons. It's a little over 4 cubic feet. I'm gonna go on the lighter side today, mostly because I don't have a lot of it. And I know there's a lot of nutrition in here still. So I'm doing 1 full cup per container. And again, we're just gonna scratch that in. I'll try to show you guys what that looks like once we're done here. Okay, so I just got all that put down here. Now we added 3 different things for 3 different reasons. First off, the BioLive. So this is my actual fertilizer and nutrition. The goal with this is we're trying to add back those nutrients that we took out, replace that fertility. I also put the compost. The reason for that, there is some nutrition in it, but the big thing is it adds a lot of life, right? Your good microbes, sometimes even beneficial insects, stuff like that. And this third one, this is the bokashi. That's that little brown looking stuff on top there. This is essentially like a fermented compost product. Same thing. The idea is to add more life to the soil and to just help all of this break down quicker. So now as I go through here, I'm gonna literally just take my fingers and kind of rake it into that top couple inches of the soil. The goal is to make soil contact. You want it to get just below the soil surface, but we're not trying to go in there and just rip up our soil too crazy. Again, the further down this goes, the better, frankly. You get a little even spread of nutrition, and again, it also helps it break down quicker. So I'm gonna go through, I'll do that on all the rest of the pots. I'll get my edges cleaned up, and we'll put the mulch back on top, and we'll hit it with some water. Now, as I'm on my last pot here, I just want to mention, don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. This stuff is actually good for you. There's some really cool science and research about the microbes in your soil actually having benefits for human health and happiness, which is pretty interesting. But anyone who's done this long enough, I mean, it does, it feels good to be out here and doing things with it. Anyways, I just thought that was kind of a cool fact, but you really do want to get this mixed around pretty decently there. It's not a science, we're just trying to get it added in. Again, nature is not perfect, but it certainly helps to try. So we got those mixed in, kind of incorporated to the top. I'm gonna go ahead, spread my mulch back on top. That's what these little coconut chips are. And we'll make a nice little even layer. We'll hit it with some water, and then I'll keep you guys updated as I go. So again, I like to let it break down for about 2 weeks. Maybe a little bit less if I'm in a time crunch. And since we added so much of the bokashi, I think it'll be faster. But that allows all of this nutrition to break down and actually be available for your plants. When you come in here and you're putting down stuff like, you know, bone meal and alfalfa meal, your plants can't use that directly. It has to actually be processed and broken down and essentially eaten by the microbes before your plants have it in a form that they can actually use. So the reason we don't plant into this just immediately is because it gets hot. So as those microbes eat, they breed, they reproduce, and they physically let off a little bit of heat. And so if I come back in here, especially if you guys first made your very first soil recipe and mix, I mean, it'll be warm to the touch, you know, and your compost piles, you'll see steam come off in the wintertime, stuff like that. So I want to let that process finish. I want to let most of it break down, and I want it to physically cool off a little bit so we're not scorching our plants. If you time it right, you can actually do this process while you have plants growing, but obviously we don't have anything growing today. So again, I'll get this finished up. I'll get some water put on there, and then we'll go from there. So I'm finishing up on this last pot right now, and I just want to kind of highlight how easy this process is. You know, a lot of people get scared. This is definitely the most uncertain part, is resetting your round. You know, you had a ton of success and you want to keep that going. This part is very important. You want to do this right, and you want to make sure you set your plants up for success on the next round, but don't overthink it. You know, we're really just adding in what we took out, trying to replace what we took, and keep a little ecosystem going. So that's it. We're finished up. Again, I'm going to hit it with the water, and then we wait. There's not a lot for me to do. I love living soil systems for this reason. I mean, the entirety, this box is like 20 bucks. My compost is a little more expensive. I'll be honest, I think getting good compost is really, really important. It's kind of the secret sauce for all of this. If you use crappy inputs, you're gonna have a crappy product. The compost is the one I think it's worth spending some money on. Everything else, I mean, you can buy this really cheap. Use what you have. You know, these are the specific products I use today. You guys have seen me use different things in the past, and you'll see me use different things in the future. The idea is really just about setting up our plants for success, and there's a lot of ways to do that. So appreciate you guys sticking along. This is going to be a little bit of a shorter one, I think, but I wanted to show you what I'm doing. I know I've been a little bit quiet recently, so I'm excited to get some plants growing again. I've just been busy with the move and the job hunt and interviews and all that process, but we're finally settled in. We got some cool offers coming in too, so I'm excited to get back to it. Okay, so I lied. I thought of one more thing as I was going about this process. First, I'll show you guys what I'm doing with the water. I'm really just trying to gently water it in here. We don't want a ton of runoff. You don't want to displace everything. I actually prefer using a pump sprayer. It's my favorite way of doing it, but it's kind of a pain in the ass, and I just don't feel like doing that today. So instead, we're just going to gently pour. I try to do these in quarters at a time, right? So this bottle is a 1/4 gallon. I'm going to need more than this, honestly. But to start off, I want to hit each pot with a gallon. Nice, easy, separate, let it go down slow. But what I wanted to mention is that, you know what? One of the longest, hardest lessons for me to learn was that more is not better. When we're working with organics and with these plants in general, it's really about finding a balance more than it is just continuing to throw things at the wall. You know, when you first start off, people tend to be a little bit overzealous, right? We want our plants to succeed. We want them to do well. And so we think if I keep doing more, they're going to do better. That's not the case. So one of the hardest lessons for me was to actually back off and just let nature do its thing. And so I really try to stress and emphasize that in the way I do everything now. And I've gotten much better results that way. You'll save a hell of a lot of money that way too. Unfortunately, this industry is full of products to add and things to buy, but it doesn't have to be that way. So that's going to be my closing message for you guys.